I was already buckled into 1A when trouble showed up in perfume, and Pearls stopped beside me like a traffic cop and said clear as a bell, "You're in my seat." I held up the paper boarding pass, kept my voice even 1A. She didn't look at the ticket. She looked at my hoodie, my beat-up travel shoes, my face, then hooked 2 fingers under my shoulder like she was plucking lint and hissed, "Move. Now." Coffee tilted, the Wall Street Journal crumpled, and all at once the hush you only hear in first class rolled over us like fog. Phones popped up like prairie dogs. A teenager in 2D whispered, "Going live," and I thought, here we go. First class on Aurora Air is a polite little kingdom. Quiet carpet leather that smells like money. A curtain that says, "Keep out," without saying a word. And in that kingdom, this woman slid into my seat, with a satisfied breath, smoothed her skirt, and said to nobody in particular, "Some people forget their place." The flight attendant, ponytail high, smile thin, rushed in with concern pointed in one direction. "Only." "Ma'am, are you all right?" Hand on pearl earrings like they were family, while I lifted my pass again and said, "Steady is mine." The glance she gave that paper was the kind you give a speed limit sign after you've decided to speed. "Sir, economy is toward the back." There it was, "Sir," as a traffic cone. Then she stepped between me and my seat like I was a spill to be contained. Whispers started, a businessman said kindly, "Just look at his ticket." An older woman nodded. The teenager's viewer count ticked up in the window reflection. I asked again, polite and clear, "Please check the roster." The attendant hit the call button for the purser, and he arrived with clipboard authority and the kind of voice that settles arguments before anyone speaks only. He didn't ask my name, didn't ask for a confirmation number. He did the math in his head. Well-dressed woman, sitting guy in a hoodie standing, and decided the answer. "Sir, find your assigned seat now or will involve security." You know what I mean. There's a tone people use when they've already written the ending. The businessman closed his laptop. "Just verify the manifest." The purser didn't. The teenager whispered to her phone. "They won't even look." The woman in my seat flashed her platinum app like a badge and gestured at my clothes. "Be serious. First class has standards." The second attendant arrived and amped it up. "Move or you'll be escorted off," and that was the moment the heat in my chest swelled and then broke like a wave, not rage. Clarity, the kind you get after too many times like this, when your dignity is being negotiated in public, and you either breathe or drown. Security stepped on board. A steady woman with kind eyes, a stern man who read the room in one sweep. "What's the problem?" he said, and the purser answered for me. "Passenger refuses to move. He's delaying departure." The woman officer didn't echo him. She turned to me. "Sir, your boarding pass." I handed it over. She studied it, then the seat placard, then me, and said quietly, "This says 1." The purser leaned in like he'd swallowed a fishbone. "Obviously counterfeit," he said. And then the line that slides under your skin like cold oil. Look at him. Yeah, that happened. 10 minutes of being invisible while holding proof in my hand. 10 minutes of people choosing the story in their heads over the words on the page. 10 minutes captured from 20 angles, because the world was watching, and still nobody in a uniform would read 4 characters printed in ink 1A. I took out my phone. The purser smirked, like I was calling a manager. The teenager's live chat exploded with hearts and caps and "Please just check the ticket." And I opened an app the cabin wasn't supposed to know existed. Behind the smiling gradient, there's a quiet hallway with heavy doors. Executive dashboard, fleet status, real-time crew logs, corporate authorization. Two faces. Changed first, the security officer's posture, sliding from enforcement to attention. Then I tipped the screen to the purser and the attendant, and watched their confidence drain away like someone pulled the plug, the name at the top in clean letters. Noah Hart, the title below it, Chief Executive Officer, and one more line that makes people sit up straight, controlling shareholder 64%. The clipboard hit carpet, the attendant's mouth opened and closed. The woman in my seat clutched the armrest like you can bargain with leather. No. She whispered, "You can't be." And I kept my voice where it had been the whole time, calm and human. I don't just have a seat on this aircraft. I have a responsibility for every seat. Respect changes posture, so does the truth. I looked at the cameras at the middle of the cabin, where 20 different versions of the same human failure were being recorded, and I said for the people in the back and for the people hiding in their own memories. This is why I fly without a suit. This is why I book under my given name, because how you treat the powerless is your policy, not the poster in your break room. The captain pinged us for pushback. We were late, and I made 2 calls anyone could hear because sunlight was the point first to legal Ms. Bennett internal civil rights investigation and external notification. Flight 319 multiple recordings, then to HR Hector, not a memo. Actions calibrated to behavior and role. And I laid it out so it wasn't performance, but blueprint. The purser who set the tone and doubled down against evidence. Termination with cause and a long road, if he ever wanted back the initiating attendant. 6 months unpaid suspension, full bias training. And if she chooses, return as a trainer to teach exactly what she did wrong. The second attendant. Formal probation, weekly counseling. Monthly certification for a year. Any slip and it's over. Apologies are words, accountability costs. Finally, I looked at pearl earrings. Your name, she said. Page, then Larkin's hands folded tight. Voice small, and I said what had to be said. You touched me, dragged me out of a seat that wasn't yours. Announced my place like you knew it by sight. She tried to pay for an upgrade. Flashed status across 3 alliances, and I told her the truth. I wish someone had told her years ago. Status is a coat. Character is skin, then gave her 2 options with every camera listening. 1 accountability. A real public apology right now. 200 hours of service at a civil rights organization, 6 months of counseling, 2 years of monitored flying, where every interaction is documented, and talks at executive trainings about what you did and why it felt normal in the moment. 2 litigation. Federal complaints, a lifetime ban from us and our partners, your employer getting the videos, and I won't say your name online because the internet never forgets faces. She glanced at the teenager's screen, watched the numbers climb, and chose. Option 1 spoke it loud for the record, the stern officer said, documented. The kind-eyed one finally exhaled. We swapped crews. The captain delivered an apology that actually sounded like one. I took my seat back, and the new lead attendant introduced herself with steady eyes and steadier voice. Mr. Hart. We'll do better, do right, I said. Better is a slope, right is a line. Somewhere above the weather, sunny in 2D. That's the live streamer's real name. Asked what everyone wanted to ask. Did you plan this? And the honest answer is complicated. I plan to learn where our culture breaks. I don't plan to be broken on purpose, but I did have a program ready because a net has to exist before someone falls. I wrote the memo on the flight, and we called it the Lighthouse Protocol because we needed something that shines when the weather turns. Body cams during customer disputes. A 24-hour bias review team with real power independent passenger advocates at our hubs. An anonymous reporting app that pings management in real time. Scenario-based training that strips away pretty words and gets to what lives under your reflexes. $40 million year 1. Renewable. Because if dignity is cheap in your budget, it's cheap in your hallways. By landing, the clip had crossed 200,000. By the press conference, it doubled. I didn't defend a brand, I described a breach and the repairs underway. And something strange happened after the headlines blew through. The quiet got better. Crews took second looks at tickets and third looks at instincts. Complaints dropped. Not because we buried them, but because we built a staircase out of them and made everyone climb. Lila, the ponytail attendant, spent her suspension learning with her hands open and came back to stand in front of new hires and say, "Eyes steady." I put my hand on the wrong person's shoulder because I thought I knew the story. I was wrong. Don't be me on your worst day. The former purser called from a regional gig to say he talks to executives now about losing 10 years of work in 10 minutes of certainty. Didn't ask for his job back, just said, "Thank you for saying no to me." Paige sent a photo from a church basement, folding donated clothes, attached the apology we made her record, and it sounded human, not rehearsed. A year later, I took the same route, and nothing dramatic happened. Someone read 4 characters on a paper pass like they mattered and said, "Welcome aboard, Mr. Hart." The numbers said, bias incidents down, satisfaction, up crew, morale, weirdly higher, because when you stop asking people to carry other people's assumptions, they move lighter. And Sonny's little doc landed in my feed. Grainy footage cut clean. A grandmother saying she feels safer filing a complaint, now a young attendant admitting she was terrified to challenge a purser before the protocol gave her a spine. I watched it alone and did the unmanly thing when no one's around. Now here's the part that stings. If I weren't the CEO that day, if I were just another tall guy in a hoodie with a paper ticket and a long stride, I probably would have been marched to the back or off the plane entirely. The lighthouse protocol is our net, but nets have holes and change. This big still misses people, so argue with me. Tell me if making consequences public is justice or humiliation, if monitored profiles are fairness or creeping surveillance, if filming people at their worst helps or harms. I know what I believe. Dignity isn't a favor for folks who look the part. It's the starting seat. Respect isn't an upgrade. It's the baseline, and power can punish or build. Building costs more and takes longer, and it's worth it every single time. You've heard my side now. I want yours. Drop a comment with what felt right or wrong, what went too far or not far enough. Tell me where you've seen bias and what you did, or wish you'd done if you've been misjudged. Tell us how it hit if you've made the wrong call and grew. Tell us what changed you. And if this meant something, share it and subscribe for more stories that punch and heal at the same time. Because justice is a long flight, and we either land together or we don't land at all.